dreaming about you. You're so plush with your velvet so blue. In the evening, you're the one I run to. Oh, my sofa queen, I can't get enough of you. I fuck the couch, fuck that couch good. You know what I'm talking about. Come on baby, hey, hey, let your stuff it out. I believe in love, yes I do. I fuck the couch. Let me split those seams, baby. My name is JD, baby, and I fuck the couch. Yes, I fuck the couch. We're all furniture people with so much to
Test.
give.
Oh, thank God.
Understand me, sugar, ooh. Since we got to be here, let's live. I love you.
The ooh on that. The ooh gets me. All right. Hopefully, we're working now. How's everybody doing? Let me say hi to the gang. And also, let me apologize to Theresa May. I did her dirty in that video. I tried to arrange it from worst to best dancer. And Theresa May was not worse than Elon Musk. But she just had the right vibe to open it up, you know? Let me say hi to the gang. Selena Mary, hello. The anti-corporatist, hello. Rextrack, good to see ya. The Mike's Dead Show, hello there. Pinkerbell, hi, good to see ya. Public Utility, the whole gang, my word. Yeah, Public Utility correctly guessed the theme of tonight's show, which is every kind of meaning of the word vice, but mostly vice presidents. In case we don't have time for it by 9 o'clock, which I want to actually try to be done by despite technical difficulties, I want to talk about Joe Biden as well, because I'm of the belief that we are in the middle of watching Dark Brandon's last ride. I'm excited for it. I think there's a lot of good coming our way because Joe Biden doesn't have to worry about getting reelected, and that is usually when you see a centrist at their best. A centrist is normally a centrist because they're a neoliberal. But they also use as an excuse needing to appeal to a fictional kind of American, someone who has equally Republican and Democratic beliefs. But a couple of things change, and we'll go into that in a moment when we start the segment proper. That's loaded up. That's the only one we're going to do video for. First up, want to talk to you guys about this gal. Kamala Harris has a decision coming up. She's got to decide who her VP pick is going to be. Let me record it. Kamala Harris will, by August 7th, I believe, be deciding who her VP pick will be. There's an interesting thing happening here. There's an interesting element to the VP pick for everybody, which is they're deciding who they want to placate. It says a lot about what the main candidate's term is going to be. Here's the deal. We're going to see if Kamala Harris, forget the rest of the Democrats, but if Kamala herself has learned over the past few years. Back in the day, there'd be no question. Kamala Harris is dead center, which means she'll be referred to by the mass media as a center left. They skew everything to the left when they talk about folks, including right-wingers. They'll take a rabid right-winger and say, oh, they're center-right. They would take Donald Trump and look for an excuse to call that guy a centrist. That's the kind of people these are. Kamala Harris should be the element of that ticket that appeases the center already with her existing policies and background as a prosecutor. And yet, there's going to be pressure on her to pick a centrist, even though the logical thing would then be to pick a lefty, appease us. I hope she's smarter than that. Something else, or rather, the thing I'm hoping she's learned is that even if she was a genuine lefty, the thing to do would not be to pick a centrist. Yeah, you can pick somebody that appeals to the center, sure. By the way, I recommend Tim Walz. He's a governor with an admirable record. The only people that pay attention to the record are progressives. Everybody else pretty much just picks on vibes, including centrists. They truly don't know what they're talking about. But like right-wingers, they pretend like they do. And they'll come up with reasons to support or not support somebody based on vibes. Theirs will make a lot more sense on the surface, but just like right-wingers, they will rely on you not actually looking up the details of anything they're talking about, because they just don't really, frankly, understand what it is they're talking about. They've done the same thing right-wingers have done. They've memorized, but not learned nothing. They've learned nothing, basically. So, I think she should pick Tim Walz. I would like to see that Kamala has learned. I would like to see her being actually strategic and recognizing that progressives are the only people that are going to be paying attention to voting records, what policies a given candidate is behind, so on and so forth. In the immediate, the vice president is not a major influence on policy. But what we are looking at here is Kamala laying the groundwork for the future. She will either be setting up a neoliberal to have tons of name recognition if they ever want to run for Senate, yada yada, ever again, or if they take a whack at the presidency in 32. Or she'll be doing that for a progressive. If she does that for a neoliberal, a centrist, how much clout does she gain? Almost none. Because the people who don't believe that she is a centrist are not going to ever vote for her if they weren't considering it already. The people who are considering it, who probably don't follow this stuff very closely at all, they don't need the whole VP pick wasted to convince them. If somebody is considering but not sure that they're going to vote for Kamala Harris, they're one of two things. They are an uninformed centrist or an informed progressive. They've arrived at a different conclusion than I have, certainly, but they are informed. They may, for example, be thinking anything that's touched Biden will not get my vote. You know, because of the massacre of Palestinians. Those are the people that need convincing with substance. Those are the people Kamala Harris should make an actual, tangible demonstration for. By the way, having a centrist as your VP, it doesn't change the strength of the centrist types all that much. Basically, all Democrats, except for about a handful, most of which were just in a video I did. Basically, all of them are centrists. What's one more with name recognition? To a progressive, that would be huge. To a progressive, that means there's somebody who we don't need to pour barrels of money into their campaign. Money we don't have as progressives, if we're being honest. There's somebody with a shot at the presidency later. There's the future. If Kamala intends to be in office for 8 years, and she should pick a progressive candidate. as her vice president. She, by the way, should already have the blessing of centrists because she was Biden's pick. Let me see if I can pull up Tim Walz here. Oh, I can't. Okay. Well, anyway, Minnesota did us proud with that one. If you guys don't recall, he's the fella who offered sanctuary in. Well, let me check. Actually, was this for trans folks and folks getting an abortion? Sanctuary. Yeah, the North Star Act legislation giving Minnesota sanctuary state status. I failed to pull it up. All right, well, never mind. Point being, he's actually done the work. He's actually done tangible things to protect people. He's given us a sense of his character, and his character is good. Her pick, Kamala Harris's pick, would be wasted on a centrist. If you need to convince the sort of folks that would be satisfied with a centrist, you're failing at a larger problem. The larger problem is you're failing to make it clear that Trump is an extremist. Forget Trump's vice president. The last vice president he had, he tried to hang. I don't think he's going to take that person's counsel all too closely. Kamala Harris would be effing up if she tried to appease those groups by wasting a chance to appease progressives. To appease those groups, she needs to do just one thing, which is talk about how bad Trump is. And that's not hard to do because he's really bad. That's our next segment. Okay, next segment. Yeah, jumping right into it, folks. Sorry, we got to hustle for because I want to get to the letter hack as well. I'm not even going to play the clip. You may have heard it many times by now. Trump frequently says what's supposed to be the quiet part out loud. He's not bright enough to realize it's supposed to be the quiet part, but there you go. He said, Christians, vote for me, and you won't have to vote again in 4 years. We're going to fix it. I'm going to give you my whole opinion in about 10 seconds. He says he's joking. All the people that come out and make excuses for this guy will say he's joking. But he's not joking. Project 2025 outlines a methodology for making that possible, for undoing democracy, for replacing all of our government with Trump yes men. He's already got the Supreme Court giving him immunity from prosecution. He already tried a violent overthrow of the country. He's not joking. We would be fools to think he is. For that matter, we would be fools to even consider voting for this guy. Anybody listening to that speech thinking, I want to see what he's got to say. I wonder what he's got in store for the country. I don't care. He tried a coup. He belongs in prison. It's that simple. If you are talking to folks and you mention the fact that he just said he is going to be who we know he is going to undo democracy, and they say he was joking, he was making a joke, point out the fact that he already tried. It would be foolish to assume it is a joke, to believe him when he says that. And if, by the way, I think the people that are saying, oh, that's just a joke, I don't think they believe it. The people who are saying, "Oh, I'm not worried about him doing that." Yeah, I'm sure they don't worry, but I think they believe he's going to do that. What you should do is force them to have a conversation about January 6th. And it's not a matter of debate as to what it was. Truly, organizations that study coups classified it as an attempted self-coup. It's not a matter of debate. You need to take that person you're talking to and get them to that place. They need to acknowledge reality. And you need to tell them how serious it is that they're failing to acknowledge reality. Is it cowardice? Are they just afraid of having an honest conversation with you? Or are they truly that uninformed? But now's not the time to pull punches in that conversation. How dare you even consider supporting somebody who tried to overthrow democracy? What's the matter with you? What kind of a traitor are you? And if you don't believe he did, how fucked is your news source list? You need to throw them all out because you are laughably, pathetically misinformed. Serious conversation time. All right, we're going to talk about actually J.D. Vance. Speaking of vice presidents, J.D. Vance. I made fun of him for fucking a couch. So did the rest of the internet. For the record, he didn't do that. That was a joke. That was a joke post that somebody put up. A bit of funny business. And yet it speaks to something which is incredibly true about him, which is he's a weird dude, huh? This is good. This is a good conversation to have. Lately, Democrats and the media in general, I guess, have got on board with acknowledging the fact that Republicans are a bunch of, weird little creeps. Now, for the record, I'm a connoisseur of weird. I love weird. But Republicans fall into definitely the creep category, which I would say is weird in a harmful way. And while I appreciate the need for nuanced conversation amongst people capable of having nuanced conversations, for everybody else, this is great. This is the kind of messaging we need. Simple, accurate. They're constantly obsessing about the kind of sex people enjoy. You know, wanting to get involved in people's private business. Wanting to track women's menstrual cycles. Wanting to force strangers to have babies. I'm trying to phrase this in a way that is appropriately shocking. But you can just sort of state what a Republican gets up to. And it's bizarre. And it's time we start discussing them as a group like this. It's a weird little bunch, huh? They're a bunch of weird little gremlins, Republicans. Good. We're getting there. J.D. Vance is not helping. I joked about the couch thing. What makes that so funny, at least to me, is that it is believable. Is that it's actually much more mundane than the actual things he has done. J.D. Vance, there are photos of him just hanging out around Nazi memorabilia. There's a table full of Nazi next to him. That's the vice presidential nominee for the Republican Party. Just hanging out around Nazi stuff. He'll say, he was at a gun show. You don't understand. I was just hanging out with people that love Nazi memorabilia. I wasn't collecting the Nazi. I was just hanging out with people that love collecting Nazi stuff. That's his excuse. I was at a gun show. Of course there's going to be people that love Hitler and hate Jews there. You know, what am I supposed to do? Not hang out with Nazis? Yeah, asshole. That's what you're supposed to do. When you see a Nazi, the only appropriate thing to do is give them a finger and leave, or stomp their teeth in to make Grandpa proud. Those are the only two things you do. You don't sit down and hang out for a while. That's not even the weirdest thing. It's probably the most evil thing that's come out about J.D. Vance, but not the weirdest. I mean, if you want to talk about evil, all right, he used to have a trans friend, and then he became a massive bigot. That might be more evil just because it actually broke somebody's heart. But, I mean, you can get weirder. Much weirder than just Nazi stuff. How about the fact that he was searching for women having sex with dolphins? That's not even a criticism. I haven't even been able to think about it on a level of like, is this moral or not? You know, I should say it's not a criticism of his morality. It is a criticism of him as a candidate, though. Not because he searched for it. Not even because he posted it. If he would have done that accidentally, I would have said, ugh, dude. Ugh. But then moved on. But apparently, no, it's still up, the post. He left it up. Because A, in his group, which is a bunch of gross Republicans, that he thinks that's normal. And it probably is. Amongst gross, disgusting Republicans, yeah, that probably is normal. But normal people, regular folks with things to do, who don't have like a man in a zipper mask locked in a special box in their mansion. Normal folks generally don't share that stuff around. Crazy enough, to my knowledge, they don't really search for that all that much, but J.D. Vance found the porn of it, so maybe there's a market. My point being, they don't spread it around. They don't share it proudly. Fuck, man. Republicans are just gross weirdos. Trump constantly talks about how he wants to his daughter. He walks in on little kids in a beauty pageant he arranged. And he talked about how one of the perks is his ability to spy on little girls changing. That's Donald Trump. That's a quote that's out there that he said to the press proudly. He hung out with Jeffrey Epstein. He's on the list. How do you say her name? Ghislaine Maxwell recruited little kids to diddle from Mar-a-Lago. They're a disgusting bunch of cretins. Why is it any one thing that is true of this pack of freaks should be disqualified? How about the fact that he tried a coup on the United States? He tried to overthrow democracy. Boom. Not only disqualifying, he belongs in prison. It is an insult to us all that he is not in there already. Every year of his life that he doesn't spend in prison is a year of justice that was stolen from us. He's not going to live long enough for us to get anywhere near enough justice out of this. We deserve every year of his life that we can get with him behind bars. Just for that. How about saying on a talk show that the thing he has in common with his daughter is sex? Disqualifying. How about siding with Russia over U.S. intelligence over how U.S. troops got shot? Was it got shot or was it just attacked? It doesn't matter. Siding with Russia over our own U.S. intelligence. at a press conference, standing next to Putin. Disqualifying. How about picking, not even being the person, but picking someone to be your vice president who currently has posts up about enjoying dolphin porn? It's not even, again, it's not even a judgment on the pornography. It's a judgment on the lack of judgment. When you knew that you might maybe theoretically be in the running to be vice president, maybe one thing you do is delete all your controversial posts. Hey, if you're picking a vice president, maybe take just 5 minutes to look through their posts and see if there's a problem. But no, they were either too irresponsible, the both of them, or they're gross Republicans who hang out with Republican freaks, so they didn't see anything wrong with it. Hey, rest of America. America who's actually worth a damn. You know, Americans who don't just waste resources, but actually contribute to society in some way. Wake the fuck up and start treating these people appropriately. Republican politicians are disgusting freaks. I say this as a disgusting freak. I knows them. I ams them. We ought not to be in office. Let's see what the wicked community has to say. Selena May, you should judge. A dolphin can't consent. He's a pig. Yeah, I literally, and I'm not joking. I'm recording this just because I want to say it, I guess, for the record. I was looking up that story. Selena May says, in response to me saying I'm not even making a moral judgment about the about the JD Vance dolphin sex porn. She said, you should judge. Dolphins can't consent. Here was my thought process on that. I sat down after realizing it wasn't a fake story. It was real. JD Vance still, as far as I know as of this broadcast, has a search up for woman dolphin porn. And I sat down and I was like, all right, well, you know, I'm not going to kink shame, but I do need to think about the morality of this. How long does a dolphin live for? Is 18 or older, does that apply to animals? Was it a wild dolphin or a dolphin held in captivity? All of these things would affect consent. And I was typing this shit in when it occurred to me, I don't want to know these things. Personally, I don't want to dwell on this longer than is necessary. And we don't even need to get that far into the issue before we can acknowledge that there's a problem here. Because before you even get to the point of, is dolphin porn moral, the very fact that we know JD Vance was looking for this stuff because he kept the post up because he doesn't see a problem with it, even though he's running for the vice presidency, that alone is disqualifying, and thus led to the rest of the rant, being that everything any Republican politician I've seen do in the last, 8 years, is disqualifying from public life forever. As in, if people recognize you, they go, oh, you're the dolphin fucker. You know, I know, J.D. Vance has done a lot of other stuff with his life. You write 10,000 words, but they don't call you J.D. Vance, the author. But one dolphin. Speaking of J.D. Vance as a vice president, I'll just be quick. Look, there's a chance that he's polling terribly. He's as bad in terms of polling a vice presidential candidate pick as Biden was a presidential candidate pick. And there's a chance, even though the RNC has come and gone already, there's a chance that Trump will kick him off the ticket because Trump doesn't care about the rules. That's actually somewhat admirable in a certain way. Good. Here's the deal. I want to double, triple, and septuple down on the fact that J.D. Vance is a weirdo who's unpleasant and doesn't have any kindness in his heart for you. I want to double down on that in the hopes that one of two things happens. Certainly, number one, everybody in America understands who J.D. Vance is. And possibly number two, possibly Trump actually does kick him off the ticket. Here's why I hope that happens. Number one, if you think that the problem with a Trump-Vance ticket is Vance, you're wrong. It's Trump. Number two, you can't unfuck that dolphin. If Trump replaces him, then we say, so you're carrying the baggage of being dumb enough to put Vance on your ticket. You already said, I'm all for this dude. Then you kicked him off. Why? Because you changed your mind? So you're saying you didn't look him up beforehand? Because most of the stuff that has come out about him is stuff he's already said. You're saying you didn't know who your candidate was? What are you, dumb? Yes, is the answer. But number three, it takes away Republicans' best argument against Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. And I say that with the knowledge that Joe Biden is not running. But that's it exactly. Their best argument against the Democrats is to say Joe Biden won the nomination with Kamala Harris as his VP. They can't just have him drop out now. Actually, yes, they can. Actually, things like this have been done before. Actually, there's precedent and there's rules written down for how it works. But it's still their best argument because it's complicated to explain those things to a normie. But we're going to have a go-to response if they switch out J.D. Vance. Oh, they switched the ticket on us. Yeah, so did Trump. Yeah, there you go. I hope that Trump is dumb enough to kick off J.D. Vance. And the reason I have some optimism in that regard is because he was also dumb enough to pick J.D. Vance. Got one more for you. Joe Biden is in his... Nope, I have to record this. Joe Biden is in his last hurrah. He suddenly found out that this is his last term as president. And so he is going to try to make a name for himself. Good. Here's the speech. I want to talk about it. Watch it with you guys. Oh, thank you for pulling off Bowie.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now that right there is a grateful nation. And I'm glad to see that people have eased up on Biden after he did the decent thing and chose to drop out. Good. He deserves it. He's done some, in my opinion, unforgivably evil things in the last year. But I do want to see America, and the whole world, frankly, encouraging U.S. politicians to do the right thing. So this show of love, even though it's not going to sit well with some folks, Put your feelings aside and recognize it for what it is, as encouragement for politicians acting unselfishly. Good. Selfless, I suppose, is the word. Selflessly. Yeah, but we're moving on.
And above all, for your friendship over the years. There's literally one word that comes to mind every time I think of Andy Young. The word's integrity, absolute integrity. And thank you to the Johnson family for carrying forward the legacy of a truly great president and first lady. Your mom was incredible as well.
I know. He meant it earnestly. And we're going to get to serious politics in a moment, but I got to clip that. That little, your mom was incredible as well. could be immaturely devastating. All right, let's see what he's got.
The same goes to Mark Upgrove, president of the LBJ Foundation. It's great to be back here. I thank you all and distinguished guests gathered here today. Look, I was in college at the University of Delaware
in 1849. Okay, sorry.
Early beginning years, when I heard the news of that President Kennedy had been
cotton gin
assassinated.
was invented. Oh.
I remember exactly like anybody in my generation remembers exactly where they were sitting, standing, or walking. I was on the steps of one of the university halls called Hullion Hall at the university, listening on a transistor radio with 3 other people. Seemed unbelievable.
I'm going to speed it up to double
then,
time.
Later, watching President Johnson help the nation find a way forward. In his first address after the tragedy, President Johnson said, and I quote, "Nothing could more eloquently honor President Kennedy's memory than the earliest passage of the Civil Rights Bill." That's what he said.
Boom.
As a kid coming up, I always admired President Johnson for his public service, whether it was a school teacher in South Texas, a master of the United States Senate, historic vice president and president. His philosophy was simple. In a great society, no one should be left behind. He'd say,
True.
It's time for us to come to see that every American gets a decent break and a fair chance to make good. And as Andy Young said, President Johnson met repeatedly with the civil rights leaders and built a coalition to bring that vision to life. He did. He brought it to life. Over 50 years, the LBJ Foundation has convened this symposium to reflect one of the crowning achievements, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, a defining moment that has since opened doors of opportunities for all Americans, regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender identity, religion, national origin. Together with the Voting Rights Act and the Fair Housing Act, these 3 landmark laws he signed are remarkable in their scale and their scope. Taken together, these 3 acts have made this nation fundamentally more fair.
Letter hack, so it'll sound normal. Yeah, I was literally just thinking that, like, that actually sounds, that's a good pace for him.
Fundamentally more just, and most importantly, fundamentally more consistent with our founding principles. For real.
Good points, though.
And we're a better nation.
I do want to say, this stuff, it is the fluff part of the speech. But it's important. There's a lot of Americans, Republicans, who do not agree or do not even really have an understanding of what America is supposed to be. The pitch for America is it's supposed to not matter who you are, what family you're born to. You got an opportunity to make something of yourself. That's what the best presidents make possible. I'm glad to see him taking this tone.
Because of them. We must be clear. Their work, our work, is not done. It's not done.
True.
We do not celebrate these laws as part of our past, but as critical components of our future. President Johnson understood, what President Lincoln understood in his own time, that the courts would determine the scale and scope of our laws. Over 100 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, President Johnson vowed, in his words, to do this job that Lincoln started, by challenging the court to live up to its constitutional responsibility. He did that by nominating Thurgood Marshall as the first black justice of the Supreme Court, and by aggressively defending civil rights throughout the courts. But now, we live in a different era. In recent years, extreme opinions that the Supreme Court has handed down have undermined long-established civil rights principles and protections. In 2013, the Supreme Court in Shelby County case gutted the Voting Rights Act, opening the floodgates to a wave of restrictive voting laws that have seen states across the country pass. In 2022, the court overruled Roe v. Wade and the right to choose that had been the law of the land for 50 years. 50 years. The following year, the same court eviscerated affirmative action, which had been upheld and reaffirmed for nearly 50 years as well. And now, there's an extreme movement and agenda called Project 2025. Well, by the way, they're serious, man. They're planning another onslaught attacking civil rights in America. For example, Project 2025 calls aggressively attacking diversity, equity, and inclusion all across all aspects of American life.
All right, America needs to hear this. They need to hear it from the president. Good job, Joe. Also worth noting, by the way, the link is in the description. He wrote an op-ed, an opinion piece for the Washington Post, released it this morning, stating the problem with the Supreme Court. Fantastic. This is exactly... this is the president I wish he had been the whole time. This is the campaigner I wish he had been the whole time. I am glad he dropped out, because he would not have been this if he was still campaigning. His instinct, like all Democrats, is to try to make Republicans happy. That's how they see themselves getting elected. I feel like all of these people were traumatized by Reagan. And they think the only way to win an election is to pretend to be a Republican. In fact, be a Republican. That's all they do. They're just Republicans who are less comfortable with the N-word, basically. Not uncomfortable, but less. But this is the man he should have always been. I'm glad to see him being it now. I don't want to take away any more from this by failing to praise it adequately. Just go off, Joe.
This extreme MAGA movement even proposed to end birthright citizenship. That's how far they've come. End birthright citizenship. Which, if you're born in America, you're an American citizen. That's how extreme these guys are. This issue, and so many other civil rights that Americans take for granted, are likely to come before the court in years to come. And most recently, and most shockingly, the Supreme Court established in Trump versus the United States a dangerous precedent. They ruled, as you know, that the President of the United States has immunity for...
Pause. I'm sorry. He's talking about an important thing after an important thing. Let me just be clear. What he just did right now was perfect. That's how extreme these people are. Americans are ignorant enough that it is necessary to inform them that it is an extreme idea to end birthright citizenship. It is, in fact, an un-American idea to end birthright citizenship. I'll go a step farther. It is... The idea of ending birthright citizenship would delegitimize every white family in America. Say that again. Every white family in America ought not to be a U.S. citizen if you end birthright citizenship. Because we came here on boats with guns. And that's how the honkies got here. Too often, you'll hear Republicans say, they want universal health care. They're a bunch of extremists. Like the idea that everybody has a right to a doctor. Just like everybody has a right to a fireman if one is needed. Is an extreme idea. And their supporters will say, I just don't like the extremism, you know? I'm just trying to vote for somebody who isn't such an extremist. You know, wanting a doctor for somebody who needs a doctor. Ugh. I want to do nice, middle-of-the-road policies, like ending birthright citizenship and taking away the ability for my daughter to get an abortion if somebody rapes a baby into her. You know, I want nice, calm, centrist ideas like that. Good. Finally, Democrats phrasing things the way they ought to be phrased. Now, on to the next portion.
For potential crimes he may have committed while in office. Immunity. This nation was founded on the principle there are no kings in America. Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law. And for all practical purposes, the court's decision almost certainly means that the president can violate their oath, flout our laws, and face no consequences. Here's what Justice Sotomayor, Supreme Court Justice, wrote in her dissent. And I quote, under the majority's reasoning, the president now will be insulated from criminal prosecution. Orders a Navy SEAL team seek to assassinate a political rival. Immune. Organizes a military coup to hold on to power. Immune. Takes a bribe in exchange for a pardon. Immune. In every use of official power, the president is now a king, above the law. Just what Justice Sotomayor wrote in her dissent. Folks, just imagine what a president could do in trampling civil rights and liberties given such immunity. The court's being...
Really good point. Thank you for asking us to imagine so that people understand that you, Joe Biden, are not currently operating under that immunity. You're operating under the old rules by choice. That is an important distinction to make for people that are not paying close enough attention.
Used to weaponize an extreme and unchecked agenda. This decision is a total affront to the basic expectations we have for those who wield the power in this nation, that they are expected to be wholly accountable under the law. The president is no longer constrained by the law, and only limits on abuse of power will be self-imposed by the president alone. That's a fundamentally flawed view and a fundamentally flawed principle, a dangerous principle. On top of its extreme decisions, the court is mired in a crisis of ethics. These scandals involving the justices have caused public opinion to question the court's fairness and independence that are essential to faithfully carrying out its mission of equal justice under the law. For example, there are documented reports of a decades-long effort to reshape the judiciary, including the Supreme Court backed by shadow special interests that also support Project 2025. Undisclosed gifts to justices worth hundreds of thousands of dollars from wealthy benefactors who have interest before the very court they're contributing to. Conflict of interest from those connected to the January 6th insurrectionists. And a blatant attack on nominated confirming justices of the court itself. Do y'all remember when Justice Scalia died in February of 2016? And the Republicans blocked the president's nomination, President Obama's nomination.
I'm going to slow it down for this. He's given us a history lesson, and it is now history, even though the time has flown by. He's given us a history lesson that's important. Justice Scalia dies in 2016. Republicans block the nomination that Barack Obama should have had
To fill
because he was president.
that vacancy for nearly a year by making up an entirely new standard.
I swear that's normal
But to be
speed.
no confirmations of the
Wait a minute. Is that normal speed? My God.
court during an election year. But then, when Justice Ginsburg died in 2020,
Never mind.
Republicans rushed
Double
to the
speed is actually
Trump's
clearer.
nominee at the very same time votes are being cast in an election that Trump would lose. It's outrageous. I know I don't look it, but I served in the Senate for 36 years. Including
Okay, so playback speed issues aside, he brought up the switcheroo that they did, and bless him for it because it's important. They stole a Supreme Court justice, and by the way, in doing that, they stole the rights of a lot of Americans. They stole our rights through the Supreme Court. They took away a person's right to an abortion. And they also stole the method in which we pick Supreme Court justices. We pick them through those people. We elect the politicians who appoint the justices, and they stole one of our appointments. They stole it from us. Doesn't matter if you agree with who they would have appointed or not. The fact is, they stole from us, and that needs to be addressed.
chairman and ranking member of the Judiciary Committee. I've been told that I've overseen more Supreme Court nominations as senator, vice president, and president than anyone in history, anyone alive today, I should say. I have great respect for our institutions and the separation of powers laid out in our Constitution. But what's happening now is not consistent with that doctrine of separation of powers. Extremism is undermining the public confidence in the court's decisions. As soon as I came to office, I convened a bipartisan presidential commission on the Supreme Court of the United States, comprised of leading constitutional scholars, both liberal and conservative, to provide recommendations on potential reforms to the court. I've been careful in these deliberations because these are serious, serious decisions. In the face of increasing threats to American democratic institutions, I use the Commission's analysis. And today I'm calling for 3 bold reforms to restore trust and accountability to the court and our democracy. As a press shouted to me as I got off Air Force One, the Republican Speaker of the House said, whatever he proposes is dead on arrival. Well, I think his thinking is dead on arrival. First, I'm calling for a constitutional amendment called No One is Above the Law Amendment. It holds,
Yes.
I mean this sincerely, it holds there's no immunity
Go, Joe.
for crimes former president committed while in office. I share our founders'
I don't know
belief
why I did that. We're still
the president
playing.
must answer to the law. The president is accountable in the exercise of the great power of the presidency.
Boom.
We're a nation of laws, not kings and dictators.
Not his fault, but worth noting, got to elect the Democrat if you want a chance in hell of any of this passing. Also, you need to get a Democrat House and Senate. Make it happen. Constitutional amendment. Make it happen.
It can be boiled down to the title of one case.
And by the way, I'll get to that in a
Trump
moment.
versus the United States. The court asserted it was making a ruling for the ages. That isn't true. The court made a ruling for one, a former president.
Boom.
No other president in our history has asked for this kind of immunity for criminal actions. And no
Boom.
president, no former president, not me, not one, should have been given any exception to this with such immunity. The second thing I'm asking for, we've had term limits for presidents of the United States for nearly 75 years after the Truman administration. And I believe we should have term limits for Supreme Court justices in the United States as well.
Boom.
In fact, the United States is the only major constitutional democracy that gives lifetime seats in their high court. Term limits would help ensure that the court membership changes with some regularity. That would make timing for the court's nomination more predictable and less arbitrary. Reduce the chance that any single presidency imposes undue influence in generations to come. The bipartisan commission I convened analyzed various term limit structures. Based on their report, I believe the best structure is the 18-year term limit. That would help ensure the country would not have what it has now: an extreme court that's the product of an attack on the confirmation process that's been weaponized by those seeking to carry out an extreme agenda for decades to come. By the way, these guys mean it. These guys mean it. Project 2025 is real. They mean it. Third, I'm calling for a binding code of conduct for the Supreme Court. Supreme Court's current ethics code is weak and even more frightening, voluntary. Any code of Congress must be enforceable. Under the reform I propose, justice would be required to disclose gifts, refrain from public political.
Yeah, I almost forgot, so I got to say it. All that you're hearing right here is his FDR moment. All you're hearing right now, even if it gets done in the next administration, this will be what Joe Biden is remembered for. This is how you carve your name into history. This is how you fix America. You want people to remember you? Do something that they appreciate. Great job, Joe.
Activity. Recuse themselves in cases in which they or their spouses have a financial or other conflict of interest. Most people don't realize that Congress passed a law decades ago that says all federal judges, including Supreme Court justices, have to recuse themselves in such cases. But the current justices insist on enforcing that requirement themselves without any public oversight or compulsion. See, that's their decision. They don't have to tell us how they made it. That might work. The court was actually enforcing those requirements, but they are not. The court is not self-policing. The court is not dealing with the obvious conflicts of interest. We need a mandatory code of ethics for the Supreme Court, and we need it now.
Boom.
My fellow Americans, based on all my experience, I'm certain we need these reforms. We need these reforms to restore trust in the courts, preserve the system of checks and balances that are vital to our democracy. They're also common sense reforms that the vast majority of the American people support, as well as leading constitutional law scholars, progressives, and conservatives. I look forward to working with the Congress to implement these necessary reforms. A number of members of Congress here today. Let me close with this. President Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 just 2 days before the 4th of July. He said in that bill signing, and I quote, "This is a proud triumph. Yet those who founded our country knew the freedom would be secure only if each generation fought to renew in largest meaning," end of quote. That's what I've tried to do throughout my career, inspired by the cause of civil rights. That's what got me involved initially. My state was a state that was segregated by law. We were one who only reason to fight in the side of the South we couldn't get there. I'm serious. What motivated me to be a public defender, a county councilman. I'll never forget, I had a good job with a big trial firm. And in Delaware, you have to study for the bar for 6 months before you're allowed to take it. And in the meantime, I was studying for the bar. That's when Dr. King was assassinated. We're the only state in the nation, city in the nation, that had the military stationed on every corner with drawn bayonets for 10 months, insisting, because we had a very conservative Democratic governor. In those days, when the Democrats won, they could choose to be part of the Southern Governors or Northeast Governors Conference. They choose the Southern Governors Conference lots of times. But guess what? It got me engaged. I love how reading these biographies of me now that I knew I was going to run for president. I remember walking in to the public defender's office, which was part-time at the time, and asking for an application because I wanted to join the public defender's office. And he looked at me and said, "Randy Kearns," he said, "Don't you work for Brigham Young Sanders?" I said, "Yeah." So why the hell do you want to do this? Not a joke. But I said, "Let me do it." I became a public defender. Folks, here's the deal. Because I got engaged like a lot of you do, whether you run for office or not. You get engaged and you want to change things. So I kept trying to change the Democratic Party in my state, which is very conservative. And then a group of people came to me, as my senator knows, Chris Coons, came to me and said, "Look, we want you to run for state senate." I said, "I can't. I can't go to Dover all the time. I'm just starting a law firm and part-time public defender." And then they came back to me and said, "Why don't you run for the county council?" I said, "I can't." They said, "You stupid SOB, it's right across the street there." I'm serious. Meets only twice a week.
The irony, by the way, that Joe Biden wanted to change the very conservative Democratic Party. You know what? He might end his career doing exactly that.
So my sister, my best friend, managed my campaign. And we picked a district that we couldn't possibly win. No Democrat had ever won. But my problem was I had my sister doing my campaign. And we won. Next thing I know, I was part of a group assigned as young senators, young elected officials, to try to bring the party around to get someone to run for the United States Senate. And I was put on a commission when you're the young lawyer, you get to turn the lights on and off after every meeting. And so I remember going down to the Democratic convention all year in Dover, Delaware. And after the afternoon session, I went back and I was in my room. It was a nice motel, you just drive up to get out, walk in your door there. And you know, an 8x10 bathroom, a shower, and a stall. And I had my towel around me and a shaving cream on my face, and bam, bam, bam on my door. And I thought it was the guys that came down. The guy was had a talk show named Bob Cunningham, was a big civil rights guy, and 2 others. So I thought it was them. I walked over the door. There was a former governor, former Supreme Court justice, swear to God, the state chairman, and the former congressman. And I said, "We just had dinner." I said, "I'm sorry, gentlemen." I walked in, I ran to the bathroom, shake everything. I could put something on the window again. I walked back out of the tunnel. I'm standing against a nail, a desk nail to the wall, and they're on the beds that are nailed, the headboards are nailed to the wall. Four of them sitting across. I said, Joe, we were thinking, you should run for the United States Senate. I said, gentlemen, you serious? And they went on and made their case. I hope all of you had a professor who's enlightened his mind. I had one professor named Dr. Ingersoll, my political philosophy professor, at the University of Delaware, which is between Dover and where I was going home. So I called him and I could stop by and see him. And I said, what do you think I should do? He said, Joe, remember what Plato said. I'm thinking, what the hell did Plato say? Serious. So Plato said, the penalty good people pay for not being involved in politics is being governed by people worse than themselves. I went home and spoke to my deceased wife. She said, look, Joe, you're working 40 hours a week trying to set up a law firm, and you're working 40 hours a week as a public defender. Get in or get out. Next thing you know, I was running. Nixon won my state by 60% of the vote. We won by a staggering 3,800 votes. My point is, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But look, I went on to be able to be, I had to wait a little bit to be sworn in. You got to be 30 to be sworn in. And then I was a vice president, the first African-American president of American history. Now I'm president of our first woman vice president.
Boom.
I've made clear how I feel about Kamala. She's been an incredible partner to me, a champion of rights throughout her career. And she'll continue to be an inspiring leader and project this very idea of America. The very idea that we're all created equal, deserve to be treated equal throughout our lives. We've never fully lived up to that. We've never walked away from it. We've never walked away because leaders like Lyndon Baines Johnson. My fellow Americans, in 2 years, we'll commemorate the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. That July 4th of 2026 will be a moment not only about our past, but about our future. Imagine that moment and ask yourself, what do we want to be?
Yes.
We can and must be protected and expand our civil rights in America. We can and must prevent the abuse of presidential power and restore faith in the Supreme Court. We can and must strengthen the guardrails of democracy. We must remind ourselves who we are. We're the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing when we do it together. So let's stay together, and God bless you all. Lyndon Johnson, Lady Bird Johnson, and may God bless the whole family. Ladies and gentlemen, may God protect our troops. Thank you for listening.
All right. I want to point something out. First of all, congratulations to Joe Biden on that whole appearance. Fantastic. Thank you to Joe Biden for putting forth that policy set. That is a vision for how to help America. That is something I think we can get conservatives on board with. Yes, even conservatives don't want a king in America. You just need to explain that to them. I go to my statement from earlier, Kamala Harris. If you are picking your VP now, you're looking over the portfolios, pick someone who will please the progressives, the only people who pay attention to policy. Because if you are trying to convince anybody else to vote for you, all you need to do is point to that. Say, this is what we're going to do. We are going to heal the Supreme Court and make it something that is not a shameful institution anymore. We are going to stop presidents from being kings, which is a law America regrettably and to my horror has on the books now. We've disgraced ourselves by allowing the Constitution to be interpreted in this way. It's incorrect. It is a wrong interpretation. We can correct the record with a constitutional amendment. And oh, hey, by the way, if we can get enough people to get a constitutional amendment on the books that says we will no longer have presidents as kings anymore, there's a much better chance that we'll be able to get another amendment that progressives have been after for a long time on the books. Another chance to undo another disastrous series of decisions by the Supreme Court that shoved big money into politics. That is the reason that super PACs exist. That is the reason that billionaires control what happens in your life. We can undo Buckley v. Vallejo. We can undo all of the decisions that have allowed the Supreme Court to put big money into politics, big bribes into politics. We start with a layup. We start with what Joe Biden just pitched there. If you want to read what he had to say, he released a opinion piece in the Washington Post. That is linked in the description. Sorry I said that crass phrase about R-ing babies into people. Sandy's right. It wasn't accurate, but it did evoke the offense that I meant to. Because in the moment, I was angry. I'm still angry, but it's a different kind of anger now, and I want to be more productive. It was uncouth, let's say, and I do apologize for the uncouthness of it. But doesn't change the fact that Republicans have done what they've done. We'll read some comments, and then we're going to head on over to the letter hack. He's got a premiere happening now. Anti-corporatist, hopefully the latter, enlarged hearts can be problematic. Uh-oh. The anti-corporatist, talking to Sandy, Glenn Kushner had a good bit in that one on one of his first pods. Selena Mary, I feel hope. What is happening to my leftist heart? My leftiest heart. Yeah. I know what you mean. It's almost like I can't be hurt again. Don't do this to me. Don't play with my emotions, Joe Biden. Obsessive audio. Don't you feel like a huge weight has been lifted compared to 3 weeks ago? Yes. What an insane couple of weeks it's been. Fucking hell. It's been wild. Gray Sand Dragon. Cardiomegaly. Giant heart. Environmental Coffee House. Oh, Jake, I was just being a mama bear, but you were also correct. And if you rewatch the playback, I hesitated a little bit to say it because I wasn't sure, but I thought, fuck it. Folks, I'm still in the enjoying being small time phase. On a related note, if you want to share this podcast, don't. I targeted Majority Report, Leftist Mafia, Left Reckoning, that crowd, because y'all are who I'm comfortable talking to at the moment. Although I am going to invite some right-wingers to talk. Not for the after party, but to talk, because we got to talk. To be continued on that front. The anti-corporatist, about what Biden could do to rein in the right-wing media. Wait, as long as Kamala doesn't make any egregious missteps, I can probably not up my anxiety meds. Yeah. Look, here's what I'm thinking. It's inevitable that she's going to. She's going to say or do something bizarre, and what or just totally wrong-headed. And what we have to do is prepare our reaction ahead of time to lead the crowd. We just saw progressives essentially rally around Joe Biden, and oh, hey, by the way, that was the right thing to do. Because we need to paddle this boat according to which way the river is flowing, as much as where we want to go. We don't just paddle towards our destination every single time. Sometimes we paddle a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right to move ourselves around an obstacle. Kamala will eventually, she's got 3 months and an open mic. She will fuck up eventually. I said an awful phrase earlier that I'm still only 50-50 on. It's going to happen. So, when everybody looks to you because you are either the hip kid or the cool aunt or the fun uncle or the whatever, you're the progressive, probably known amongst your group of folks as the progressive. And they look to you for your reaction. Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. It's fine. Because Kamala Harris's, look, a misstep with a Democrat should be very different than a misstep with a Republican. When Republicans misstep, they accidentally reveal how evil they are. When Democrats misstep, they just stumbled over their words. But their hearts are in the right place. They're not going to accidentally reveal that they're trying to screw people over. They might accidentally reveal that they're going to try to help people more than they said they would. But it's fine. Act accordingly. We need to lead the nation in terms of temperament on this. Let's not forget, it's an okay politician, a slight upgrade from what we had, frankly, versus the end of democracy. It's a non-conversation. Oh, did she accidentally say Nutter Butter instead of peanut brittle? All right, whatever. We just don't care. Snixabias, say it with your chest. Damn right. Anticorporatist, you can edit the VOD, but that assumes that I'm anything other than a lazy prick. All right. That's enough show for tonight. Thank you all for stopping by. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake, and this is Donald James X. Sandy, thank you for the super chat. Ha!